Okay, so get this. We've got a world #1 tennis player, Jannik Sinner, caught in a doping scandal.
Yeah.
You'd think it's an open and shut case, right?
Right.
But the thing is, he claims he never intentionally took the banned substance.
Right.
It's a total head-scratcher. We're talking clostebol, a steroid popping up in not one but two of his tests back in March 2024.
Wow.
Now he's been slapped with a 3-month ban. So how did it get there? Was this a case of sabotage, carelessness, or something else entirely?
Yeah, it's a really good question.
That's what we're diving into today to see if we can untangle this web and figure out what really happened.
Well, what's really interesting here is that an independent tribunal actually cleared Sinner of any wrongdoing. They believed his story about a contaminated spray used by his physio, but then WADA stepped in and decided to appeal.
Really?
Yeah, leading to this 3-month ban starting February 9th.
Wow.
It really throws the whole concept of strict liability into the spotlight.
Strict liability. Okay, so for those of us who aren't lawyers or professional athletes, break that down for us. What exactly does that mean in this context?
Basically, it means athletes are responsible for anything found in their system, regardless of how it got there. Think of it like this. You're driving a car and you get a speeding ticket.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if your speedometer was broken or if you were late for a life-saving surgery.
Right.
You were behind the wheel, you broke the rule, you get the ticket.
Right.
In Sinner's case, Jania is essentially saying, yes, maybe you didn't mean to take the steroid, but it was in your body, so you're accountable.
I see where they're coming from, wanting to maintain a level playing field and all that.
Yeah.
But part of me wonders, is that really fair?
Yeah.
If someone is genuinely innocent, shouldn't there be some leeway?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's one that's sparked a lot of debate in the tennis world and beyond.
Right.
Some argue that strict liability is essential to deter cheating and maintain the integrity of sports.
Yeah.
Others say it can lead to unjust punishments, especially in cases of accidental contamination.
Let's rewind a bit and walk through exactly how this whole saga unfolded.
Yeah.
I remember hearing about the positive tests back in 2024.
Okay.
But the timeline gets a bit fuzzy after that.
All right, let's put the pieces together.
Okay.
So it all started at the Indian Wells tournament in March 2024. Sinner tested positive for clostebol, and then boom, a few weeks later, another positive result from an out-of-competition test.
And clostebol, just to be clear, this isn't like accidentally taking a cough syrup with a banned substance. We're talking about a serious performance enhancer, right?
Absolutely. Clostebol is an anabolic steroid that helps build muscle mass and strength.
Wow.
It's a big no-no in professional sports.
So what was Sinner's explanation for how this substance ended up in his system? Did he have some elaborate story about a tainted protein shake or something?
Well, his explanation actually revolved around his physiotherapist.
Okay.
Apparently, the physio used a spray containing clostebol to treat a cut on Sinner's finger just before giving him a massage. Sinner argues that's how it got into his system, through accidental contamination during the massage.
Wait, so he's claiming it basically seeped through his skin during a massage?
Yeah.
That seems like a long shot, doesn't it?
I know it sounds a bit far-fetched, right? But here's the thing. The independent tribunal actually bought it.
Really?
Yeah. They conducted a thorough investigation, looked at all the evidence, and concluded that Sinner's explanation was plausible. They found no evidence of intentional doping, hence clearing him of any wrongdoing.
But then WADA swoops in and says, hold on, not so fast. They weren't satisfied with the tribunal's decision, even with the evidence presented.
Yeah.
Why push for an appeal if the player was already cleared? What were they hoping to achieve?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting.
Okay.
It seems like WADA wanted to send a message. Remember what we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
Strict liability. This appeal was about upholding that principle.
So even if Sinner genuinely made an honest mistake,
Right.
they wanted to make it clear that the buck stops with the athlete no matter what.
Exactly. It's almost like they're saying, listen, we get it sometimes. These things happen. But the rules are the rules, and everyone needs to understand the potential consequences.
Right.
It's a tough stance, but you can see their reasoning.
Yeah.
They're trying to protect the integrity of the sport and deter future violations.
This is getting juicy. So the tribunal says innocent WADA appeals, and then, go ahead. How did we end up with this 3-month ban? Did they duke it out in court? So we've got this standoff, the tribunal saying one thing, WADA another. What happened next? Did they go head-to-head in a courtroom showdown?
We didn't quite get to a full-blown legal battle.
Okay.
Instead, they ended up reaching a settlement. Sinner accepted a 3-month ban, but get this, he still maintains his innocence.
Really?
Yeah, it's a sort of agree to disagree situation.
Okay, so not a total victory for WADA,
Okay.
but they still got a ban out of it. You mentioned this has sparked some controversy.
Right.
What are people saying about it all?
Oh, the tennis world is buzzing.
Yeah.
You've got some players praising WADA for holding the line,
Yeah.
saying it shows they're serious about keeping the sport clean, but then you've got others, like Nick Kyrgios,
Oh, yeah?
who've been super vocal about the perceived unfairness.
Hmm.
He even went as far as saying fairness in tennis doesn't exist after the ban was announced.
Ouch. I bet that ruffled some feathers.
Yeah.
But I can see his point. If it truly was an accident, a 3-month ban on a player at the top of his game, that's a huge hit.
Exactly. And it raises this bigger question of how do we balance keeping competition fair with protecting athletes who might be victims of circumstance?
Right.
This case is like a magnifying glass on the whole system.
And it's not just Sinner's career that's impacted. Think about the tournaments he'll miss.
Right.
He's out for the Australian Open, which is a massive deal, along with a few others. But thankfully, it seems like he'll be back in action for the French Open in May.
Right. The timing could have been worse.
Yeah.
But still, you have to wonder how this will affect him mentally to be at the pinnacle of your sport on top of the world and then have this happen that's got to weigh on you.
I can't even imagine the pressure.
Yeah.
You're fighting to clear your name, dealing with the fallout from the ban,
Mm-hmm.
and all while trying to stay in top form.
Right.
Talk about a mental hurdle.
Absolutely. And it makes you think, what can be done to prevent these situations in the future?
Right.
Is there a way to refine the testing process? Maybe have stricter rules for how support teams handle substances? It's a tricky situation, but one worth examining.
Totally. You can't just shrug it off and say, well, that's the system.
Right.
We have to at least try to find ways to make it better, maybe more education for everyone involved, athletes and their teams, about the regulations and the seriousness of even accidental violations.
I think that's a great point. Knowledge is key here.
Yeah.
If everyone understands the intricacies of anti-doping rules, the potential for contamination, the consequences that could go a long way in preventing future cases like this.
Okay, so zooming back in on Sinner, how has he been handling all of this?
Yeah.
It can't be easy being in the spotlight with everyone scrutinizing your every move.
Well, from what I've seen, he's been handling it with a lot of grace and maturity. He's accepted the ban, acknowledged WADA's position, but has also firmly maintained his innocence. He seems determined to move forward and prove himself on the court.
I admire that he's not throwing a pity party or blaming others.
Yeah.
Seems like he's taking responsibility while still standing up for himself.
Exactly. He's walking that fine line. And, you know, in a way, this whole ordeal could end up making him an even stronger competitor. Facing adversity like this, overcoming it, that can really fuel your fire.
I hope so. He's such a talented player. It would be a shame to see his potential dimmed because of this. I'm really curious to see how he comes back after the ban.
Me too. I have a feeling we haven't seen the last of Jannik Sinner.
Yeah.
This might just be the beginning of an even more compelling chapter in his career.
This whole case has been a wild ride. Conflicting evidence, high stakes appeals, and strong opinions on all sides.
Yeah, it really has.
It's like a legal drama playing out in the world of professional tennis. It's really made me think about the complexities of anti-doping rules and the challenges of ensuring fairness in such a high-pressure environment. It really highlights how this isn't just a tennis issue.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This whole debate about strict liability,
Right.
unintentional doping, it's something every sport grapples with. Think about track and field swimming, cycling, even esports.
Right.
Anywhere there are rules against performance enhancement, you're going to run into these gray areas.
It makes you realize how complex this whole world is. We often think of doping in black and white terms.
Yeah.
Someone cheated or they didn't. But the Sinner case shows it can be way more nuanced than that.
Exactly, and that's why this deep dive has been so fascinating. It forces us to question our assumptions, to look beyond the headlines and really wrestle with the ethical dilemmas at play.
Like, what do you do when the very rules designed to keep things fair might end up punishing someone who didn't intentionally break them? How do you find that balance between protecting the integrity of competition and ensuring individual justice? It's a real head-scratcher.
I think it comes down to constantly reevaluating the system.
Yeah.
Can testing procedures be more sensitive? Can the rules be tweaked to better account for accidental contamination? Maybe there's a way to incorporate an element of intent when determining penalties.
Right.
It's not an easy fix, but it's a conversation worth having.
I think a big part of it is education, too, not just for athletes, but for their entire support team.
Right.
Everyone needs to be hyper-aware of the regulations, the potential for contamination, the consequences.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're working with an athlete at that level, you've got to be extra vigilant.
Yeah.
Every little detail matters.
Absolutely. And maybe there's a way to personalize it more.
Yeah.
Instead of it just being a bunch of dry rules and regulations, what if we hear from athletes who've been through these situations?
Right.
Share their stories, their struggles, their lessons learned.
Yeah.
Make it real, make it relatable.
That's a great idea, because at the end of the day, this isn't just about rules and regulations. That's about people's lives, their careers, their dreams. And we owe it to them to create a system that is as fair and just as possible.
Well said. And for Sinner, his journey is far from over.
Right.
He'll serve his ban, but then what? How will he come back? Will he be able to reclaim his top spot?
Yeah.
Will this experience change his approach to the game? Only time will tell.
I'm rooting for him. I think this whole thing has probably given him a new perspective.
Yeah.
A deeper understanding of the complexities of the world he's in. And who knows, maybe he'll even become an advocate for change within the system.
That would be incredible to see. Imagine if his experience sparks a movement towards a more nuanced approach to anti-doping.
Yeah.
That would be a real legacy.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with a question for you, dear listener. What's your takeaway from all of this? Does the Sinner case change how you view doping in sports? Does it make you question the concept of strict liability? Or perhaps it sparks a curiosity about how we can create a system that is both fair and effective. Whatever your thoughts, I encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep until next time.